assist in the plight of our citizens through our 125 operational soup kitchens and the 680 food gardens in existence. While libraries need to close, they will continue to be of assistance to citizens wishing to register for vaccination. A service delivery monitoring committee representative of all directorates was established in mid-February to deal with responses to daily service requests from the broader community. A team comprising the Manager Customer Care, Mr. Peter Noble, Mr. Theo Rootman as Project Coordinator for Collaborator Systems, and Mr. Johan de Preer, Senior Manager for the DMA and Support Services, coordinate the operations of the Service Delivery Monitoring Committee. A management team then meets every Friday to deal with the more tricky service requests and aim to resolve complaints or problems at that Friday weekly meeting that is attended by 25 to 30 officials. They are responsible for clearing roughly 80% of the week's requests by that Friday. At the meeting, on average, about 50 quick fix complaints are discussed every week, of which more than 95% are resolved ahead of the service level standard timescale that has resulted in, for example, no more traffic congestion out of Puckelsdorp during the morning peak traffic, cleanup projects to bring the environment back to its former status as a clean city, and implementation of more effective measures to deal with stray animals, etc. These are just a few examples. This team has taken ownership of the tasks to resolve queries as a team effort. All councillors should therefore ensure that complaints are clearly explained when logging them, preferably on the Municipal app, bearing in mind that the complaint can only be solved if it is brought to the attention of the administration. We welcome Ms. Lauren Waring as Director Planning and Development, and on 1 July we will be welcoming Mr. Bongani Mandla as Director Electrotech Services. We have the energy of our directors as they go about making improvements to our levels of service delivery in the municipality, of which these are some examples. Working feverishly to complete MIG and other capital projects by year end, completing the photovoltaic plant in our car park, preparing for the river cleanup that is scheduled for August, the ongoing handover of new houses in the Saferfontein project, dealing with investors wishing to invest in George. Some teams are in George this week as we speak, dealing with preparation work for possible investors wanting to move into George. Calling for proposals for events to bolster our tourism space, and we're also taking delivery of our new incident command vehicle. In closing, I wish to thank our management team for the dedicated work that has been undertaken this past year, and particularly these past 6 months in effecting the improvements that our citizens are noticing around George. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, William. We will move to the replies to this key speech by the Mayor. The ANC, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, councillors and colleagues and officials. First of all, Mr. Speaker, let me actually bring to the attention of the Mayor that we're being told that, correctly so, that we are coming to an end of a financial year. And my only concern, though, that we might be bragging that we are coming to an end of a financial year that is said to have been successful. But my concern is that, Mr. Speaker, in March last year, we agreed on a number of items that needed to be implemented as part of the budget. To date, none of such have actually ever been implemented. And we are now actually closing a financial year. And we are supposed to be, happy about that. So your administration and yourself, Mr. Mayor, has dismally failed in honoring your agreements in as far as the budgetary, commitments that have been made are concerned, right? So I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you can maybe perhaps answer me on this question. What is the DA's relationship with HENRA in the city? That I would want to know, because there is no other company that is working here. I have not heard you speaking about that, but would like to know what is your relationship as the DA with HENRA in the city, because there is no other company that works here, only HENRA, as if no other companies are capable enough to do the job. So, Mr. Speaker, sorry, if I may ask the mayor must also explain to us. I'm hearing him speaking about the application for neighborhood, application. Perhaps we need to get more information about that so that we can understand where we fit in, where to give support to that if really there is a need. But also, Mr. Speaker, I would like to actually bring to the attention of the mayor again that courts and police can never be used to mitigate in an event where the municipality has dismally failed in discharging its duties and responsibilities, part of which is to engage unions. So you've resorted to go to the courts so that you can silence the workers from demanding, rightfully what they believe is what they should be getting, just like it has happened with other municipalities. And you have failed. Instead, you resorted to go to the courts to actually threaten them not to raise their issues. So I think you need to maybe think twice and start looking at how you can resolve. And the only resolution is to pay the workers what is due to them. And we need to see an end to that, right? You speak about soup kitchens. These soup kitchens, the last time I checked, Mr. Speaker, you only issued or you only offered, soup, which is very weak in any event that cannot fill even a child. Yet you continue to boast about soup kitchens that you have. Where are those soup kitchens, Mr. Speaker? Right? Lastly, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, there is a problem with the Department of Electro or Electrotechnical, because those people are only looking for reasons not to do the job. Whichever complaints, can be, laid to them, but they're only looking for reasons not to resolve them. Housing issue, Mr. Speaker, is selectively given. So we need to look at the criteria that is being used to allocate houses to people. Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next,
Speaker, there's a great amount of interruption here. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you, Speaker, at all. We can't hear anyone else. We can hear Councillor Alderman Gericke very loud and clear, but the rest, none.
Okay, please start my time now. Speaker, good morning. Morning, Mr. Mayor and every other colleague. First and foremost, also condolences to Councillor Fry on the passing of his mother. We trust that the Holy Spirit will comfort you and your family in this time of bereavement. Mr. Mayor, yes, we have to agree with the ANC on the issue of obtaining court orders to silence workers. Rather upsetting that your top management do not want to engage with workers, do not want to receive their petitions, and so in so doing, acting in complete contempt with regard to the relationship with our workers. This unrest is not going to stop because promises have been made in terms of our understanding with regard to overtime in the COVID time. and suddenly there was a change in your position from your government to paying those people. So it is really, a disturbing face to see all the time, the protests, the uprising, and so on. And your government does not want to meet and sort out the problems with the workers in an amicable way. I'm going to run quickly to the electricity sales that you're talking about. You are behind on 11 million kilowatts, and the question automatically comes up that people resort to alternative energy solutions because of the high price of electricity in the city. You've proceeded with your 14.59% to fund luxuries again. You are overrolling Market Street, and nothing is wrong with Market Street. We've seen how deep they dig in Wellington Street. There's some engineering formulas that they fail. They're just doing everything within their disposal to chow the money of this municipality. But we'll get to that. The moment when we get into the chairs, we will embark on a comprehensive investigation, and we will make sure that people that are corrupt and people that are in a dishonorable way eating the money of this municipality will go and report in courts, account in the courts of our country. Because those monies are supposed to go to the poor and the needy and the vulnerable, and big, huge, massive companies are thriving on those type of monies in the city. I've been in Market Street. The business owners are so upset because they are losing business, and nobody has ever spoken to them. This is what they told us. I am also very worried. The PBI is worried about every day, every single day, we receive messages of interruption in services throughout the city. If it's not Vic Bay, it's Harold's Bay. If it's not Harold's Bay, it's some other suburb. Hello?
Your time is up.
Meneer Speaker, daar is seker fout van hy tyd van hy mense, want wragtig, my tyd kan nie opwees nie. Ek het dan nou net begin praat.
I am keeping watch here. My stopwatch on my cell phone, I believe, is correct. I can assure you,
Die tyd kan geopwees nie.
I restarted you after 18 seconds into your turn.
That's
So,
okay, Mr.
yeah.
Speaker. Just move on. It's all right. Just
Thank
move on, please. Just
Thank
move
you.
on. This is just sabotage all the time.
You have 3 minutes.
Baie dankie Speaker. Speaker, môre almal. Mr. Meyer, ek weet ons dra kennis dat u is 'n high risk en u moet by die huis wees, so dit is baie u het genoegsame tyd om 'n baie goeie voorlegging te doen. Maar Mr. Meyer, die implementering van u voorlegging, dis waar die probleme lê, is Mr. Speaker. Mr. Meyer. Mr. Meyer, laat ek gou raak aan die sopkombuise waarna u verwys het. Nou, ek het juist gister 'n probleem gehad, Mr. Meyer, met die sopkombuise wat daar 'n opdrag gekom het dat die sopkombuise moet elke dag van nou af, omdat ons in level 4 is, funksioneer. Daai is nie 'n probleem nie, Mr. Meyer, maar die probleem is, Mr. Meyer, daar kan nie net opdragte kom vir die mense wat 'n vrywillige diens lewer en wat nie eens 'n sent daarvoor ontvang nie, 'n ondankbare diens, en dan kom 'n opdrag, hulle moet elke dag die sop kook vir ons mense, ons kinders wat honger is. Maar die sopkombuis tannies word nie eens voorsien van PPE's nie. Jy praat van die health waar ons moet versigtig wees. Daai mense het niks nie. Al wat hulle kry is die droë bone en semp en dan die sopmix. En jy moet onthou, Mr. Meyer, die kragtariewe is mos nou op. So die mense moet hy semp kook bitter baie lank. So die krag kan nie, hoe kan mense elke dag hulle ontvang 'n minimale bedrag van R350 vir elektrisiteit of vir gas wat hulle moet koop. Maar daar word verwag van die mense om elke dag voorsiening te maak. Nee, maar Mr. Meyer, ek wil hê julle moet kyk daarna, julle kan nie net opdragte gee en julle doen nie wat julle supposed is om te doen vir ons mense nie. Mr. Meyer, ek het nie gehoor Irak aan die Gwyn rivier nie, daai reilings wat hulle daar aangebring het nie. Nou daar is 'n action groep. As ek kykie burn action groep daar aan die Pakkelsdorpers. Ek is so bly vir die mense wat opgestaan het en besluit het genoeg. En ons gaan eienaarskap neem vir dit wat aan ons behoort. En daardie stories wat daar uitgaan, die leuns wat daar versprei word, van bedrae wat gedoen word, geld wat gespandeer word, daar op die Gooienrivier mond, Mr. Meyer, ek wil hê julle moet daardie ding moet julle regmaak. Die mense van Pakkelsdorp is ongelukkig. Hulle wil nie aanhou hierdie leuns wat daar aan hulle oorgedra word, wil hulle nie meer langer hoor nie. So Mr. Meyer, soos ek sê, ek het nie veel gesê dat ek veel daarin kan raak nie. Dit is nou maar net die gewone, soos ek sê, goeie voorlegging wat gedoen word, maar ons wil hê dinge moet geïmplementeer word soos wat die ANC dit reeds genoem het. Dit help nie, u breek elke keer om te sê, dit wat ons gaan doen en dit is wat ons gaan doen, maar hierdie goede word op die ou einde van die dag word dit nie geïmplementeer nie. Is my tyd nog aan, speaker?
5 sekondes.
Ag, jy is oulik, ek is klaar. Ek wil net die Meyer moet net hy sop kom by sy, ek is my hart lê daaroor. Ons mense gaan nou weer swaar kry, speaker, as gevolg van die level 5 en dinge wat nou trou mense wat by die huis gaan bly as gevolg van hulle werke wat toepak. Dankie.
Fortuin. Councillor Fortuin, thank you. I don't hear the gong from committee services. I'm relying on my own timekeeping here, which I believe is accurate. But if that matter can please be addressed, we move now. The EFF is absent. We move to good. Councillor Hector. Oh, sorry. We must have translation. Can we have translation?
Jabulisa ke ikhoza ithi sodolophu siyabulisa ekonikezeleyo futhi siyayazi ba uyi-high risk kakhulu, kufuneka ube sendlini, ngoko ke siyayiqondisisa loo nto leyo. Kodwa ke kwintetho ebithethiwe yi-ANC malunga nokuphunyezwa kwezinto ebezibekiwe okanye ebezimisiwe bafuneka zenziwe, izinto ezingade zenziwe. Okokuqala, ukhankanye umba malunga ne-soup kitchen. Chazile ukuba nje masiku-level 4 ngoku i-soup kitchen funeka zipheke rhoqo. Kodwa ke ingxaki ekhoyo nengxaki ebendiye ndayoyisabela izolo kwenye ye-soup kitchen ngumyalezo oye waphuma othi ngoku makuphekwe rhoqo. Kodwa ke ingxaki ekhoyo into yokubana abantu be-soup kitchen abongezwa kutya ngaphandle nje kwezi mbotyi zenziwa ngazo isuphu, futhi ke nale 350 yombane okanye funeka bathenge irhasi bathi bayinikwe ayonelanga, kuba siyazi ukubana ngoku xa kufuneka kuphekwe yonke le mihla esi sibonelelo bebesinikwa sokubana mabasebenzise ngeentsuku ezithile, ngoku funeka basebenze rhoqo azizukonela. Zizinto ezinjalo ezo ekufuneke zijongiwe, futhi aba bantu baphekayo ababonelelwa ngezikhuseli ezinjenge-PPE, izinto kufuneka bazikhusele bona ekuncedeni uluntu, ngoba ngabantu abathi bavule iintliziyo zabo aba bancede uluntu ukuthi bapheke. Futhi ke malunga nomba we-Hwai River uthi ke andivanga nto uthetha, kodwa ke ndiyavuya ukubana abantu baye bazimela ngokwamalungelo wabo. Ndiyavuya ke xa abantu bethi baphakame ngoku bazenzele. Siyavuya ke xa kukhona ngokwentetho ebithethwe yi-ANC bana mazi-implementwe izinto, mazenziwe izinto ezicwangcisiweyo, kungathethwa ntetho ezithile ubana makucwangciswe izinto kodwa izinto kungafikelelwa esigqibeni uba mazide zenziwe. Enkosi.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. The EFF is not with us today. Good. Councillor Hector, you have 3 minutes.
Dankie, Speaker. Ja, Speaker, wat blyk om 'n progressiewe adres Mayoral adres te wees is egter 'n stelle kontras wat die werklike situasie wat die George munisipaliteit is. Die Meyer kan noem van die accumulative collection rate op debitere van 94%, wat goed klink. Hoe kom ons dan jaar na jaar met 'n debitere skuldboek van plus 270 en dan om die 94% te kan haaf. Ons is bewus van die vorderingsprosedures wat uitgekontrakteer is na Nico Smit, wat ons inwoners ten slegste benadeel met die rente, dienste wat gestop word en die enorme prokureurskoste wat daarmee gepaard gaan. Waar gaan ons gemeenskap opeindig, Speaker? In die kort tydjie as raadslid van George munisipaliteit het ek wat is die baie sinister dinge wat in hierdie munisipaliteit voorkom. Ons kyk hier na die voormalige MM en 2 direkteure wat goue handdrukke gegee is. Enorme regskoste, forensiese ondersoeke is spandeer op hierdie 2 direkteure en munisipale bestuurder net om agterna massiewe goue handdruk vir hulle te offer of te gee, wat natuurlik finansiële implikasies vir ons belastingbetalers het. Waar is die best practice en good governance wat die meier van verwys met dit wat ek nou pas genoem het. Weereens, vandag kom julle weereens hier moet 'n item, en so ek sê in die kort tydjie is die net amendments wat plaasvind. Dit sit ons weer met 'n recruitment selection policy wat julle wil amend, net om byvoorbeeld aanstellings wat julle onlangs gemaak het of steeds wil maak, salarisse natuurlik met aanpassings te doen wat ook 'n negatiewe impak op ons gemeenskap, op ons belastingbetaler en dienslewering gaan hê. En ek gaan die voorbeeld noem, Speaker. Ons sit hier met 'n posisie wat aangestel was in Mei sien ek van R640,000 en R932,000. Hierdie posisie moet nou gaan moet aangepas raad of oorweeg word vir aanpassing van R949,210 en 95%. Wie gaan opdok vir dit? Natuurlik is die belastingbetaler en dienslewering wat daaronder gaan lê. U praat van veiligheidsplanne, gemeenskappe staan gebuk onder onluste. Dit gebeur nie van nou af nie. In my kort termyn, soos ek sê, as raadslid was ek al meer as 10 keer in die middel van die nag uitgeroep na gevalle toe, waaronder andere 2 moorde op ons jongseuns en 'n paar aanrandings op vroue. Nou 3 maande voor 'n verkiesing word daar gekyk na
Councillor Hector, your time is up.
Ek het nie die klok gehoor lei nie, Speaker.
Thank you. I've been trying to get your attention. Mr. Paulus, welcome to you. Sorry for not welcoming you earlier. Welcome to you. Will you please translate? Thank you.
Sodolophu uthetha malunga ne-accumulative collective, uthetha kaman rates, uthetha intetho yakho emandi kwaye ke xa uyithetha iyavakala, kodwa ke yonke loo nto leyo ichaphazela abantu abathi bahlawule abantu abahlawula itax. Futhi ke ininzi uthi kule minyaka mifitshane okanye kweli xeshana lifitshane likhona ndikuceba, ininzi inkcitho mali endiye ndayibona isenzeka apha kulo masipala. Ukhankanye izinto ezimbalwa malunga nenkqubo okanye amatyala acinywayo asiwa kwaNico Smith ajikele singakhange siwabona, indlela uchaza nje malunga nenkqubo ekusetyenzwa ngayo. Uthi kuthethwa malunga nophando, kuchithwa imali kusenziwa uphando oluthi lubuye ke phofu lungakhange lwaba neziphumo ezizizo. Uthi uthetha malunga ne-good governance, kodwa ufuna uqonda uba iphi okanye indawuni na lo good governance, ngoba ingathi yinkcitho nje into ekhoyo. Uthi ke oko ndifikile kwenziwa ii-amendments, izilungiso nje ezithile, kukhutshwa into ethile kuphinde kufakwe into ethile. Uthi umzekelo kuthethwa malunga nee-appointments, wakhankanya ke imali ezingango-600,000 uba makuwakhiwe okanye makwenziwe isithuba esithile ukwenzela uba kuzonyuswa laa mali ibiku-600 iye ku-902,000. Uthethile ke malunga nee-safety plans ezikhoyo, izicwangciso ezikhoyo ezibekwayo uba mazisetyenziswe, kodwa azenzeki. Uthi mna njengoceba ndibizwe kabini kumatyeli amabini ukubana makhe ndiyojonga. Xa ndifika khona kukho umfanana okanye abafana ababulelweyo. Uthi ke zizinto ezinjalo ekufuneke zijongiwe, kungabekwa nje izicwangciso ezingathi ziphunyezwe okanye zifezekiswe.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. Next to speak is the ACDP, Councillor De Tooy. You have 3 minutes.
Baie dankie, Speaker, weer eens vir hierdie voorreg dat ek 'n paar woorde mag wissel. Speaker, as ek luister na ander partye, dan kleur hulle die prentjie van George so swart en donker in. Dat lyk of alles in George in duie besig is om in duie te stort, wat nie die gevalle is nie. As kyk na die land na ander in die straat en totale chaotiese toestand is, dan gaan dit baie goed in George. Die ACDP sê nie daardeur dat alles in orde is in George nie. Maar daar is baie punte ook vir verbetering. Baie dankie oor die infrastruktuur wat opgegradeer word. Dit is ontsettend nodig. En ook wat die ACDP bekommerd is die uitstaande debiteure van 340 miljoen en 76 miljoen van 90 dae tot 'n jaar. Dit is kommerwekkend dat ons hierdie skulde het wat ons nie kan in. Daar sal iets daadwerklik moet gedoen word dat hierdie mense opgeskroef word en dat ons hierdie gelde inkry, want dit is belastingbetalers geld wat daarmee heen gaan. En dan speaker ook 'n lockdown level 4 is as groot uitdagings wat vir ons hier lê. Ons besighede is in die moeilikheid. En as die besighede in die moeilikheid is daar huisgesinne wat in die moeilikheid is. Is daar nie enige manier wat ons as raad van George, ons inwoners en ons besighede kan bystaan in hierdie moeilike tye? En burgemeester, dit raak ons almal. Dit raak nie net 'n sekere persentasie of 'n sekere faksie van die dorp nie. Dit raak ons almal. En ek wil vir u baie dankie sê vir die manier wat u die raad lei en vir die leiding en die insig wat u gee. Burgemeester, ons waardeer dit en dan ook my waardering aan ons munisipale bestuurder wat volgens die ACDP baie goeie werk doen. Baie dankie, speaker. Ek is klaar.
Thank you, Councillor De Tooy. Mr. Paulus, we can't hear you. Mr. Paulus, we can't hear you. Mr. Paulus, we cannot hear you.
Ithi ke ACDP iyabulela kakhulu yona ngethuba elithe layifumana ekuseni nje ukubana maliveze izimvo zalo. Uthi ke ndivile into ebithethwa ngamanye amaqela ethetha ebeka amabala engathi idolophu yethu idolophu embi okanye idolophu engalawulwayo okanye engakhokhelwayo kakuhle. Uthi ke ayinjalo ke noko, asithi ukubana zonke izinto zihamba kakuhle, kodwa ke kukho izinto ezilungileyo nezinto ezintle ekufuneka sizijongile ezihamba kakuhle kwidolophu yethu. Uthi ke khona ke nezinye izinto ekufuneka sizijongile, wabalula ke into ezinjenge-infrastructure funeka zijongiwe kakhulu. Uthi qho xa ethetha uzawusoloko eyikhankanya ke into enjalo. Ethile ke malunga namatyala okanye netyala elikhulu ekufuneka kujongenwe nalo, futhi ke neendlela zoba lizawufunyanwa njani okanye izawufunyanwa njani na le mali kubantu abayityalayo. Uthi ke ulevel 4 umcelimngeni kakhulu kuthi ingakumbi kumashishini asengxakini kakhulu. Into ethetha ukuthi ke xa amashishini esengxakini nathi singabahlali sisengxakini. Ufuna ukubona into yobana akho ndlela ithile enokuthi thina silibhunga singenelele sincede amashishini apha eGeorge, ngoba kaloku ichaphazela wonke umntu. Uyabulela ke kakhulu kusodolophu ngokuthi asikhokhele kakuhle ngendlela akhokhela ngayo. Uyabulela nakumphathi kamasipala ngendlela aphethe ngayo. Uthi ke umqhwabela izandla. Uyabulela.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. Next to speak is the AIC Chief Whip. I have tried to make contact with Councillor Joe. I'm not sure whether he's attending from another device, perhaps, by any chance. Councillor Joe, are you in the meeting? Chief Whip?
Chairperson, I have had no response from Councillor Joe at all. I don't know whether he's in the meeting either.
May I ask, does anybody know anything about Councillor Mkondu's whereabouts? I'm asking it out of interest. I'm not asking to be facetious or be difficult. There's no reply. I'm not sure, has Councillor van Niekerk by any chance joined us? It doesn't look like it. Councillor van Niekerk. So we move on. Last to speak on or to reply to the mayoral address is Councillor Vugland. Councillor Vugland, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. It's so strange for me that the normal chorus has not been echoed by the opposition in reply to the mayor's speech. We've come to know that a verse to the extent that we do not intend as DA to deliver services on the other side of the road always
Councillor
falls.
Vugland, please stop for a moment. Councillor Vugland, please stop for a moment. Can you, I've stopped you at 33 seconds. Can you by any chance reposition yourself? You are really breaking up and it's extremely difficult to hear what you are saying.
I will do so, Speaker. Just give me an opportunity. Can you let me move? I'll move. Speaker, what I've said was, can you hear me now, Speaker?
I can hear you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I've missed the choir of the opposition that usually complains that the DA is delivering in selective areas. Yet in today's speech, the Mayor made it very clear that an application for the Neighbourhood Development Partnership Grant has been favourably received, and the focus area would then be Tembaletu. Thank you to the management and to the Mayor for his guidance. This is again a commitment, and it shows that the DA government delivers to all people and not to selective areas, as it is always claimed by some opposition members in this council. Secondly, Speaker, the whole issue and yes, we acknowledge the existence and the need for the development of wine. That's why there are constant meetings between the MMC for Strategic Services and concerned members in Pakkelsdorp and the Wine Action Group. Funding has been provided on the budget for the period of 3 years, and I invite all interested parties to have a look so that they can see that indeed we do deliver to the people of Wine as well. As far as safety is concerned, Councillor Hector, we all understand that safety is a crucial issue and it needs to be addressed. Even though safety is not a core mandate of local government, we are committed to ensuring that our communities is safe. With the help of the provincial DA government, they've introduced the LEE program that will shortly be to the benefit of the Garden Route community, in particular George as well. The nutritional services, comments were made that the nutritional services do not offer food of good quality. Laat ek dit duidelik stel, collega's, dat die spyskaarte word uitgewerk deur dieetkundiges en nie deur onkundige persone nie. So die maaltye wat daar voorsien word is inderdaad 'n voedsame maaltyd en nie net mielies en bone soos wat daar voorgegee word nie. Allow me also, colleagues, to thank the current administration, to thank the leadership of this town, because indeed George are going forward in leaps and bounds. We can show that by the results that we are receiving, by the comments that we're getting in the newspapers, and by the way funds are being spent. So thank you once again to the Mayor, to the leadership, and we know that the Neighbourhood Development Partnership Grant will tackle unjust strengthen strategic spatial planning capacity. It will coordinate the use of planning in regulatory investment tools and strategies. It will integrate and leverage public transport, infrastructure, land, and housing investments. And it will also use spatial focus to target more public resources in the community area.
Point of order.
Thank you,
Speaker. Point of order, Speaker.
Councillors, somebody muted me.
His time is up.
Speaker.
Even his time is up, Mr. Speaker.
Order, please.
Speaker.
Councillors, somebody Councillor Fortuin, I am speaking now, please. It is absolutely called for, and it's very, very unprofessional. And I'm going to try and investigate who is actually muting me. This is, I'm not laying this at your door, but it is totally unacceptable that I am muted when I'm trying to get order in this meeting. Thank you.
Could be me, Mr. Speaker. I'm trying to get you out.
Councillors, there is no debate on the mayor's address, so I am not going to allow
Speaker,
any
ons moet net iets regstel, meneer Speaker. Meneer Vigeland moenie maak, Councillor Vigeland moenie maak asof ons lieg nie.
Councillor Fortuin, I don't want to have to silence you 3 times. I am in terms of the rules of order, and there is no debate on the mayoral address.
Mr. Speaker, jy weet nie eers wat Rasit Fortuin wil sê nie, maar jy maak haar aanhoudend stil.
I don't need your comments.
En daar mute jou councillor my weer hoor. Dis 'n councillor. Dis 'n councillor wat ons mute.
Mr. Speaker, wanneer ek vra dan moet jy my die geleentheid bied. Jy moet vir my die geleentheid bied as ek sê op 'n punt van orde. Ewen al praat die meier as ek kom stop en ek sê op 'n punt van orde dan moet hy stop. Hoekom kan die president gestop word dan?
If I have to ask you to silence yourself one more moment, I'm going to ask you to leave the meeting. Item
but
3.
Speaker, this is incorrect.
This way,
the rules of order allows for people to raise.
Councillors, this is a general.
Jy gaan ons nie verskrik. As jy ons wil uitsit, dan sit jy ons uit. Ons het die reg om te praat in die meeting.
This is wrong of you. This is very wrong and unacceptable.
Jy spring maar elke keer as ek iets wil sê dan wil jy my silent. Jy gaan my nie silent nie.
Speaker, my hand is ook op aan die misbruik.
Councillors, if you don't wish to observe the rules of order, and if you don't want to listen to the speaker when the speaker speaks up, I'm going to ask you to leave the meeting.
Speaker, jy moet ook na ons luister met die hand is hoe lank al op? Hoe lank al
tolerate this?
Jy maak van ons kinders, jy maak van ons kinders. Hoekom hou jy nie die rules of order nie?
Alderman Giereke, I have warned you for the last time. Councillor Fortuin, I've warned you for the last time.
You can warn me many times. It doesn't matter. You can warn me as many times.
Jy doen ook en jy follow die rules of order nie. My hand is nou kyk op jou ding. My hand is op.
From this meeting.
Ja, gaan dan man. Ek is op van julle wat vir ons wil hanteer asof ons skoolkindertjies is. Dis skoolkindie. Dan praat met jou klein kinders aan by jou huis.
Giereke from this meeting.
Op eerlikheid man.
Yes.
Govern op oneerlikheid.
Dis wat jy doen. Die van nutrition, wat se
Thank you. We move to item 3 on the agenda. We've listened to the apologies. You know the drill. As I read your name, please confirm your attendance. Councillor Adams.
Speaker, ek is hier. Ek sit op die N2 op my camping chair. Ek is hier.
Thank you. Councillor Barnard.
Good morning, Speaker. Present.
Councillor Brown.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Buys.
Teenwoordig, Speaker.
Councillor Clark.
Teenwoordig.
Councillor Cronje.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Dikelili.
Good morning, President Speaker.
Councillor De Tooy.
Teenwoordig, Speaker.
Councillor Esau. Was that a yes from Councillor Eso? It was a bit unclear.
Speaker, môre teenwoordig.
Thank you, Councillor Eso. Councillor Farrell.
Present Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Councillor Vugland.
Present Speaker.
I have asked that Councillor Fortuin be removed from this meeting. Please record that she was in the meeting
Teenwoordig,
until...
speaker, teenwoordig.
Well, I have asked and requested the MM to remove you from this meeting.
Ek is teenwoordig, speaker.
Councillor Fry. Councillor
Teenwoordig.
Fry. Councillor Fry.
Speaker, can you hear me well?
I can hear you clearly, Councillor Fry. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
I don't know whether Alderman Giereke is still with us. I've requested that he be removed as well.
I'm in this meeting.
Councillor,
you must give me solid reasons why you want to remove me. I am in this meeting. Otherwise,
order,
you are
please.
acting dishonestly.
Order, please. Councillor Gultig.
Councillor Gultig present.
Councillor Hector.
Speaker, my hand is op. Hoekom eerbiedig jy nie? Speaker, my hand is op. Hoekom eerbiedig jy nie?
Councillor Hector, I'm busy with the roll call.
Speaker, my hand is al geruime tyd op. My hand is al geruime tyd op, Speaker.
Councillor Henge.
Het is teenwoordig.
Councillor Henge.
Speaker.
Councillor Ingo.
Teenwoordig, Speaker.
Councillor Yankees Bushman apologized. Councillor James. Is Councillor James with us? Morning. Councillor Johnson.
Speaker.
Good morning,
Morning,
President Speaker.
Councillor Karma apologized. Alderman Kritzinger.
Morning, Speaker present.
Councillor Langa. Councillor Langa.
Candy corner, Speaker.
Councillor Musime. Councillor Lof. Councillor Lof.
Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe. Councillor Mbete.
Morning, Speaker present, Speaker.
Good morning, Councillor Ndaka. Thank you. Councillor Joe, we're not aware of his whereabouts. Councillor Julia Nkamazana. Good morning, Councillor Noble. Thank you, Councillor Noble. Councillor Nosana.
Morning, Dikona Hitler.
Alderman Petrus.
Teenwoordig, Speaker.
Councillor Plata. Councillor Plata. Does anybody know anything about Councillor Plata's whereabouts?
Yes, Speaker,
She
was struggling to log in, Speaker. She is just in and out.
Thank you.
She's struggling to log in.
Thank you. Councillor Roofse.
Good morning, Speaker. I'm present. Good morning.
Councillor Royland. Councillor Royland. He seems to be in the meeting. Councillor Royland. We'll get back to him. Councillor Suffers.
Good morning, Speaker. Present.
Councillor Snyman.
Present.
Councillor Stander.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Stamela.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Struble.
Driver's license,
I'm present.
Alderman Tahizi. Alderman Tahizi. Alderman
Speaker
Tahizi.
Dikona. Speaker Dikona.
Thank you. Alderman van der Hoeven.
Present, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor van Niekerk. He apologized. Alderman van Wyk.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor van Brandes.
Present, Speaker.
Councillor Wessels.
Present, Speaker.
Alderman Williams.
Goedemorgen, Gerard.
Morning, Alderman. Councillor Windwaai.
Goedemorgen, Speaker teenwoordig.
Thank you. We will just go back to Councillor Royland. Councillor Royland, are you with us? And Councillor Plata, has she been able to rejoin us? Please, let's just make sure later on in the meeting whether they've been able to reconnect. The acting municipal manager.
Morning, Speaker. Present.
Morning. The Director Corporate Services. Thank you. The Director Human Settlements.
Thank you.
The Director Planning and Development. Thank you. The Director Community Services.
Present, Speaker.
The Director Protection Services.
Good morning, Speaker. Present.
The Acting Director Civil Engineering Services.
Speaker, I can't
Good
hear
morning,
you.
Speaker.
Speaker, sorry for interruption, but I can't hear you, Speaker. You are.
Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Proceed,
clearly.
Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Director Civil Engineering Services.
Good morning, Speaker. I'm present.
Good morning, Mr. Daniels. The Acting Director of Financial Services.
Good morning, Speaker. Present.
The Acting Director Electric Technical Services.
Good morning, Speaker. I'm present.
Then the Acting Director Legal Services and Compliance.
Speaker, I'm present.
The Deputy Director, did I say Acting Director? It must be Deputy Director. The Deputy Director Corporate Services, Admin.
Speaker, kan ek 'n mosie van wantroue teen jou indra? Ek wil jou remove van die council office.
Please, order please. Can you please remove Councillor Fortuin from this platform? Thank you. The Deputy Director Internal Audit.
Present. Good morning, Speaker.
Morning. The Manager Legal Services. The
Speaker,
Manager IDP.
ek wil 'n mosie indra, 'n mosie van wantroue teen jou speaker om jou te remove van council asseblief.
Councillor Fortuin. Before we proceed, can we please make sure that Councillor Fortuin is removed from this platform? Can you please confirm to me?
Speaker, yes, IT is dealing with the matter, Speaker.
Thank you very much.
This is not fair. This is not fair, this one.
Order, please. The
Hayi
Manager
Speaker,
IDP.
kodwa nyanga unangekude wena. Ayikho le nto uyenzayo. Ayikho le nto uyenzayo Speaker. Ayikho.
Order, please. Councillors, I think we have to be clear with each other here. I will
Yena
not
uzenza
tolerate
ufaro Speaker, yena
interruptions.
uzenza ufaro.
And if you persist with this, I will take the necessary action. I want to be absolutely clear about that. Thank you. For the
You
third
can
time,
remove
the-
me, Speaker, because this is the DA Council. You can remove me.
Councillor Nosana, that is a warning to you. The IDP manager for the fourth time. The IDP manager.
Good morning, Speaker. Present.
Thank you, Dr. Harov.
Speaker,
The manager, I'm busy with the roll call. I'll attend to any other hands once I'm done. The manager communication services.
Morning, Speaker. Present.
Morning. The risk manager.
Good morning, present.
The manager executive support services in the office of the municipal manager.
Morning, present, Speaker.
The manager in the office of the executive mayor. Abrams. The manager IT or the acting manager IT. Can you hear me? Councillors, can you hear me?
Thank you. Clearly.
So I did not get a response from the manager in the office of the executive mayor, and I did not get a response from the acting manager IT. The manager committee support.
Present, Speaker.
Thank you. The senior committee official committee support. Thank you. The senior clerk committee support.
Present, Speaker.
Thank you. And the interpreter, Ms. Apollos.
Yes, I'm present, Speaker.
Thank you. Appreciation for that. We move to, let me just see, let me just scroll up here. I see Councillor van der Hoeven's hand and I see Alderman Kritzinger, sorry, Alderman van der Hoeven's hand and Alderman Kritzinger's hand. Councillor Alderman van der Hoeven.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity. Speaker, I've got two issues that I've got to raise. Number one is we only received item 14.5 at 10 o'clock this morning, Speaker. There's no way we could deliberate, we could caucus on that item. So, Speaker, we from our side, we strongly object to the fact that this item has been submitted to us. And
Alderman, I'll address that. Address that. You had a second.
The second item, Speaker, that I want to deal with is you allow DA speakers to exceed the 3 minutes, but you act in an unfair way when it comes to the other councillor speaker. And we, from our side, we strongly object to that. Surely, Speaker, you must be free and fair, and that is what we're looking forward to the rest of this meeting.
Thank you for that input, Alderman van der Hoeven. I can assure you, and you would have heard, that I made every effort to bring that particular contribution to an end.
Speaker, you were at many stages, Speaker. You were unclear. We could not hear you. You disappeared. Whatever, and you cannot conduct a meeting, Speaker, if you are not audible all the time and for everybody, Speaker. And that is what we object to, Speaker. So you make rulings while you are not audible to us.
Thank you. Can I ask, am I clear? Am I breaking up at times?
Speaker, you are clear at the moment, but there have been occasions where it's been difficult to hear you this morning. But at the moment, you are.
Thank you. May I ask, that if it happens again, that you please alert me to it? Thank you. I see that Alderman
Speaker, my hand is up.
Speaker, what is wrong with us that we can't alert you? Speaker, what is wrong? Speaker, surely something is wrong in this meeting and we have to deal with that.
Alderman van der Werven, do you really think that I should be advised by everybody when you can't hear me? That is why I'm trying to make it uniform and trying to get the MM to get one person to let me know whether there are problems and interruptions. Goodness me. Alderman Kritzinger.
Hey, I am.
Speaker,
my hand is ook op.
Speaker,
Yeah,
before we
I
proceed,
Alderman Kritzinger, please proceed.
thank you, Speaker. I just want to ask before we proceed, can we just make sure that those councillors that you have asked that they be removed from the meeting before we proceed, please? Thank you.
Now, Speaker, this is very unfair the way you treating all of us. No, it's very unfair. I just want to make alert to you that Councillor Plata is struggling to get into this meeting. But it's perturbing the way you're treating us. It's very perturbing.
I will not tolerate your second warning, Councillor Lof. Thank you.
Speaker, my hand is ook op geruime tyd al. Gaan my 'n kans gee?
Councillor Hector, I honestly do not see your hand on my screen. In relation to what is this?
Net 'n point of clarity, Speaker. Kan ek voortgaan?
Yeah, but no. I think we must distinguish here. There's no point of clarity that is allowed in the rules of order. So I'm not going to allow
a point of order then, please. A point of order then, Speaker.
Okay. In terms of which item of the rules of order is your point of order?
Kan ek voortgaan?
I'm asking you a question, Councillor. In terms of which in the rules of order is your point of order?
Weens die feit dat jy raadslid Fortuin uitgesit het, Speaker.
Councillor Hector, in terms of which item of the rules of order is your point of order?
In terme van die herhalende houding teens raadslid Fortuin en die feit dat jy uit die vergadering uit sit, ek weet nie wat is jou houding teenoor bruin en swart vrouens nie, Speaker. Dit is
Hector, thank you. I think I'm going to ask you to withdraw. Councillor Hector, no, you may not proceed. I'm going to ask you to withdraw the attribution you have made to me now. If you do not withdraw it, I want you to leave this meeting.
Speaker, ek het nog nie klaar gepraat nie. Hoekom moet ek withdraw? Ek het nog nie klaar gepraat nie, Speaker.
Councillor Hector, please withdraw the statement you made in relation to my alleged behavior or view on women.
Speaker, kan ek klaar praat?
Councillor Hector, please withdraw that statement.
Speaker, ek het 'n vraag aan u gevra. Is dit
withdraw the statement you have made in relation to my alleged views of women? Please withdraw it for the last time. Please withdraw it.
Speaker, ek gaan nou. U kom baie aan herhalend voor teenoor bruin en swart vrouens. My vraag is dit binne in u geaardheid om so op te tree teenoor bruin en swart vrouens? Dit is my vraag.
Point of order, Speaker.
I also like to put a point of order.
Chief Whip, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, 27.1 of our rules of order are very clear that we need to avoid irrelevant, tedious and repetitive and unbecoming language. And I find that Councillor Hector is transgressing that rule of order 27.1, and I ask that he withdraw what he has just said. Secondly, he has indicated that his hand has been raised and you are not seeing his hand. But unfortunately, I cannot see that he is even logged in. So I'm not too sure at whose device he is sitting. And that is why you're not seeing his hand. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. We move to item 4, official notices. There were none. We move to item 5, disclosure of interest by councillors, item 5 of the Code of Conduct for councillors, and disclosure of benefits by municipal staff members, item 5 of the Code of Conduct for municipal staff members. I'm not aware of any. Councillors, while we are on this point, a letter was received yesterday from the Western Cape government regarding declaration of financial interests, which is an annual survey that is being done. If your financial status or circumstances have changed in terms of in relation to your activities in council, etc., then you must please make Milani aware of that in order for us to forward a complete disclosure document to the province. We move to item 6, list of deferred items. There are none. We move to item 7, minutes of previous meetings. 7.1, minutes of an ordinary e-council meeting held on 27 May 2021. Can we get a proposer and a seconder there, please?
Councillor Vigland propose.
Thank you, Councillor Vigland. Thank you very much. 7.2, minutes of a special e-council meeting held on 15 June. Can we get a proposer and a seconder there, please?
I propose, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Strubble. Thank you, Councillor Lowe. We move to item 8, minutes of the executive mayor in committee meetings. Item 8.1, minutes of the e-mayor in committee meeting held on the 10th of June 2021. 8.1.1, alternate sanitation solution to replace chemical toilets in the informal settlements in the George municipal area. First to speak there is Councillor Vigland. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Vigland.
Thank you very much. Speaker, this item deals with the replacement of the current form of toilets that we've got and the new technologies that we intend to use. I therefore propose that we accept the recommendation as it is on the agenda of today on page 69. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vigland. Next to speak is Councillor Diki-Lili. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Diki-Lili.
All right. Nkosi Somlomo, the ANC doesn't have any problem with the pilot, as long as there is transparency and the proper consultation. Because one of these days, if you are going to bring the product to the people, I think it's quite very important, to consult. And it is said also in the item that there was a request that the portfolio councillor and from the portfolio councillor for human settlement and officials to visit, the Buffalo sanitation. And it is also said, I think from that point, it was supposed the entire committee, because remember now, I'm not trying to be funny here with the chairperson, but at least the people that, they know familiar with the situation. And the other point that I want to make, yes, I understand that 2 companies, were consulted, Buffalo and the other one. And I also look at the prices. And I think an advertisement should be placed so that other companies also must, take part in the tender. But it is also said that after the discussions with the both companies, it is indicated that they are prepared to do the pilot project of 1 biodigester in 2 informal settlement. I'm not sure about that, if they were promising after they've shown, that is like the show toilet, after they've shown that they are going to be given an opportunity to do the whole pilot. I think I need clarity on that one. Also, I think in terms of consultation, I think the community also must get involved. Yeah.
Your time is up. Was there a question there?
No, the question since since it was I think after the discussion, right, with both companies, right, after the consultation, and then it was so those two companies are prepared to do a pilot project of biodigester into two informal settlement. And where the human settlement is going to choose those two. My question is, are they promising to do the whole by doing that, or are they promising to be given the opportunity to go further with the pilot, or they are only going to show and then what is going to happen after? Because I think it's quite very important to advertise so that everybody can come on board. Yes.
Can somebody please respond?
Speaker, can I please ask that Mr. Libber respond?
Please, Mr. Libber, proceed.
Good morning, Speaker. Yes, the referral of the first company was done through province, hence we met with them. We went and visited the production place, and we came back, and then we because we were investigating alternative methods, we also became aware of the second company. But unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, we're not in the business of just promulgating and giving access. And in the recommendation itself, we are alluding to the fact in the B part of the recommendation that we will call for development proposals. So no promises were made, but the procurement processes will duly be followed. Thank you, Chairperson, Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Libber.
Where is Mr. Libber now?
Councillor Ingo. Councillor Ingo, you have 1 minute.
Dank u, Speaker. Ek secondeer het voorstel van Raadslid Friesland.
Thank you. Councillors, before we proceed, I just wish to bring to the attention of committee services that I've received a WhatsApp from Councillor Plata saying that she's been struggling with connection and that she's been in and out of the meeting since 10 o'clock, just so that in terms of the roll call, so that you know. We move to item 8.1.2, Community Safety Plan for George Municipality. First to speak there is Councillor Noble. You have 2 minutes.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, just a summary of the item is that the Community Safety Plan is aimed at building networks and partnerships, seeking to create an enabling environment within the region towards reducing and preventing crime, which was said during the council meeting, creating awareness amongst community members on the scope of community safety and encouraging communities to take ownership of their neighborhoods through active participating in community safety initiatives. Speaker, it's a pleasure for me to recommend that the Community Safety Plan for George Municipality be approved by Council, and you will find it on page 87. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Noble. Next to speak is Councillor Loff. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, we take note of this plan, but however, we need also to put our piece into the pie. Some of the things that we are not very happy with is the fact that when we asked the question also in the committee meeting, was this being if the other role players who is in the security of the town, were they also involved? Will they also give a fair opportunity to give their input also into this plan? We didn't receive an answer. A very vague answer came that day from the chairperson, the director of this protection services, who was in charge of this plan. So this is very, very much alerting, because there is people, the safety plan cannot just come from the municipality itself. We need the involvement of all the stakeholders, and we need to get their approving as well, because this is a safety plan for the whole George, and not only our protection services are in charge of protecting the community, but there are other role players like SAP, like everything other than just the municipality itself. We never got an answer on that. But however, we must take note, like everything is happening on this municipality. Although we will mention anything, it will just went through as it is, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Lof. Next to speak on this item is Alderman Kritzinger. You have 1 minute, Alderman Kritzinger.
This indeed is a very good plan, and I have to comment the MM and the department, Mr. Erasmus, with the hard work that's gone in this. I agree with Councillor Lof when she says that everybody's got to be involved. Like this morning, that the Justice Department has eventually come to forward or come to be involved in whatever has to be done. If departments are not involved, this plan will not be basically successful. So I would like to say that I would want to second my colleagues' recommendation. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman Kritzinger. We move to item. I see that Mr. Erasmus' hand is up. Mr. Erasmus.
Yes, Speaker, thank you. Can you hear me, Speaker?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, Speaker, the question that Councillor Lof raised is very valid, and the answer to a question is on page 25 of the policy of the plan. It mentions there the South African Police Services. On page 26, it refers to the CPFs, the neighborhood watches, the private security companies, National Prosecuting Authority, ward committees, and so I can go on. It's all there. It continues to page 27, and it also speaks to the community involvement and how important it is that the community must be involved, and that you'll get on page 25 of the safety plan. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Erasmus. We move to item 8.1.3, Law Enforcement Bylaw Strategy. The first person to speak there is Councillor Gultik. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Gultik.
Thank you, Speaker. As a DA, we would like to congratulate Mr. van Willig with the bylaw enforcement policy. With this policy, this is clearly an indication of forward thinking. We must rather help with good habits, with education, rather than punish bad behavior. Will be therefore on recommendation A, the bylaw policy and implementation strategy be approved by council, and that the bylaw enforcement policy be implemented strategy be workshopped with council. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Gultik. Next to speak on this is Councillor Nosana. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Nosana.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning. As the African National Congress, we take note of the recommendation, and we are not against it because this is long overdue. Yes, our communities need to be educated about our bylaws that needs to be enforced and implemented. But educating them should not be the only thing we do. We want to see the law enforcement officers working in our non-affluent areas, like your Pakasdorp, Cornwall, Pakdin, and Thembaletu, etc. It cannot be the case that law enforcement officers work only in town, and when there is nothing to do in town, they just roam around. We have enough officials to deploy in all these areas because we are also rates and taxpayers. This tendency of this DA-led municipality of thinking that the only important commuters or the only people that are paying rates and taxes are in town must stop, and it must stop now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nosana. The last to speak is Councillor Ed. You have 1 minute.
Did you hear that, Speaker?
Order, please, Councillor Adams. You have 1 minute.
Speaker, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Speaker, I want to second my fellow comrades, and I want to thank the mayor and our team for this initiation. And yes, I second it. Thank you. I stand back.
Thank you. Appreciation. We move to item 9. Resolutions, decisions taken by the executive mayor under the delegated authority. There is none. We move to item 10, motions or proposals deferred from previous meetings. There are none. Item 11, motions. Item 11.1, new motions. There are none. Item 11.2, motions of exigency. There's nothing. We move to item 12, matters at the discretion of the speaker. I just wish to bring to the attention of committee services that, as you have seen in the chat box, Councillor Royland has problems with his audio, so he is in attendance. And secondly, to address Alderman van der Hoofen's concern about the late item 14.5. Alderman, I will grant all parties a caucus when we get to that item. I think it's just such an important item that we cannot afford not to consider that today. We move to item 13, urgent matters by the municipal manager. Any matters that you urgently wish to bring to our attention?
Speaker, no, there aren't any.
Thank you, We move to item 14, reports to council. Item 14.1, minutes of the Municipal Public Accounts Committee MPAC e-meeting held on the 8th of June 2021. Item 14.2, amendments to the risk management framework, fraud management framework, and whistleblower policy. The first to speak on this item is Councillor Brown. You have 2 minutes, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Speaker. The risk management framework and the fraud management framework and the whistleblowers policy were reviewed for continuous compliance with legislation, regulations, and relevant guidelines. So the amendments were workshopped with Council on 25 May, and no further amendments were recommended. So I would hereby recommend the Council approves the updated risk management framework, the fraud management framework, and the whistleblowers policy. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Next to speak on this item is Alderman Williams. You have 2 minutes, Alderman Williams. Is Alderman Williams with us?
Yes, Speaker, do you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I have no problems with, are we at the risk assessment and management?
That's correct.
I have no problems with the item per se, Speaker. The item, there's no problems. But the only worry I'm sitting with, Speaker, is if we're going to move in this way, we're giving service delivery to our people, then we must expect that it will pose a risk for this municipality if we cannot provide quality services to all communities. Why do I say that? Is that if you see that in town, it's a Baghdad. I don't know, do you know Iraq? When it was rebuilt by America. It's the same as in George. Roads, you say you are maintaining the infrastructure, but can you not come to our areas and do the same? And this thing which worries me most is that at the time of we are closing our financial year, is then that you are spending a lot of money in maintaining the infrastructure all over town. Is it the way of getting in election money? That's the first question. The second question, I am deeply concerned in the way you conduct your meetings, because we are here deployed politically as political parties. Okay. But the way you have an iron fist worries me, because you were supposed to be impartial and make it flexible for councillors to argue all items out, but you are locking most of the councillors out in one instance. Where's your patience?
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
I'm as patient as a slowly and softly breathing tortoise. I assure you that. But it works both ways. And if there's no cooperation, then obviously action or reaction follows. Thank you. Last to speak on this item is Councillor Struble. You have 1 minute.
Speaker, yes, good morning. I would like to second the proposal of my colleague, Councillor Erica Brown. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Struble. The next item is item 14.3. Colleagues, I'm missing something here. Am I? No. Item 14.3, leasing of the building premises situated on the northern side of the Van Riebeeck Gardens in Kamfersdrift. Councillor Wessels, you have 3 minutes there.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Yes, this item is for Council to consider entering into a new lease agreement with Ground Zero Bike Park for the leasing of the building premises and recreational areas situated on the northern side of Van Riebeeck Gardens. Before I go to the recommendations, I would just like to say that I would really like to congratulate Ground Zero. They have truly bought into the vision of strategic services and tourism for all people to enjoy the wide open spaces that George and our area has to offer. And they've truly provided a safe environment for people to firstly take their kids for the mountain biking and trail running community as an access point into the lovely trails of the Outeniqua Mountains. And with that, I want to take Council to the recommendations on page 335 and 336. The recommendation runs from A to G. And I want to point out point C, that the handing out of the leasing of the building premises situated on the northern side of Van Riebeeck Gardens in Kamfersdrift Road to Ground Zero at the rental of 630 Rand plus VAT be approved following the conditions, and those conditions are stipulated out there. And the extension of the lease agreement on a month-to-month basis will be valid until the public participation processes have been finalized. So it gives me a great privilege to recommend the recommendations as on page 335 and 336. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wessels. Next to speak on this item is Councillor Nkamazana. Councillor Julia, you have 2 minutes.
Good morning, Speaker, and thank you. As the ANC, as long as all processes are not completed or followed, the involvement of the community are not done yet. As we all know, the DA-led municipality doesn't care about the community, but I hope it is going to happen here. So we don't have a problem then after every process has been done to lease the property. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Julia. Next to speak on this item is Councillor Johnson. Councillor Johnson, you have 1 minute.
Good morning and thank you, Speaker. Speaker, George is a mountain bike heaven and offers about 48 kilometers of a dedicated single-track mountain bike trails, which hikers and trail runners also use. Ground Zero Bike Park has become the starting point of many of these events. Speaker, under the leadership of the Democratic Alliance, the George Municipality, as the owner of the most significant number of properties in George area, acknowledge that it is a leading role to play in redressing this imbalance by ensuring that the immovable property assets under its control are dealt with in a manner that ensures most significant possible benefit to the strategic objective of George and the community that it serves. And that is per the immovable property management policy. I therefore subsequently second Councillor Wessel's proposal for Council to accept the recommendation set out on pages 335 and 336 under points A to G. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. We move to item 14.4, guidelines, development contributions. Let me just say, read again, guidelines, development contributions. Councillor Stander, you're the first to speak there. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, this item is to submit the recommendation for development contribution guidelines to be implemented within George municipal area. The main purpose of these guidelines is to simplify and integrate the development contributions process and development contribution charges. We have been advised by Advocate Andrew Breitenbach to amend our land use planning bylaw to bring it in line with the Land Use Planning Act, namely LUPA. The motivation for the proposed amendment is explained in paragraphs A, B, C, D, and E of the item in our agenda. I therefore propose the recommendation on page 344, namely, the guidelines for imposition of development contributions within the George municipal area be approved and implemented with effect 1st July 2021. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Stander. Next to speak on this item is Councillor van der Woofen. You have 2 minutes.
Speaker, let me see if I can fit in. What is proposed here comes down to a tariff increase. Is that correct, Speaker? Can I just have an answer to that?
I specifically said guidelines, but I'm not going to answer that, MM.
Speaker, no, it's not. It is guidelines. It will be determined per area. It is not a blanket tariff across George, but perhaps I should ask Ms. Lindsay Moyman to elaborate further, if that will assist, Speaker. Is further elaboration needed at this stage?
Thank you, Ms. Moyman. If you could, please.
Thank you, Speaker, and good morning, everybody. Capital or development contributions are not a tariff. They're specifically not a tariff, and they're not a tax. They are implemented in terms of your LUPA, and when a land development application is received. The purpose of development contributions is, or the principle is that all new development must pay for the bulk infrastructure or the infrastructure that's required to service that new development. In other words, it's an amount that a developer pays so that the existing residents or taxpayers are not financially burdened with the cost of providing services that any new development requires to accommodate that development. I hope that provides some clarity. Thank you.
Even I understand that. Thank you very much, Ms. Moyman. Alderman van der Woofen, I'll restart the clock for you.
Thank you, Speaker. I hope it is restarted. Speaker, when we talk about money to be paid, the municipality works on tariffs and nothing else. So basically it is tariffs that is disguised under something else. Now, Speaker, tariffs cannot be implemented or in bits and pieces. Surely it should have been part and parcel of the annual budget approved in one package, Speaker. And the MMFA is clear that how budget should be approved and how should any cost be included The Municipal Council, in terms of 24 of the MMFA, says the Municipal Council must, at least 30 days before the start of the budget year, consider the approval of the annual budget, and then what all must be included, setting up municipal tariffs for the budget year and all other tariffs, basically, Speaker. And now you can't implement this on the 21st, on the 1st of July, and it didn't go through the procedures that the budget has followed. Because surely, Speaker, it must be part of the budget. This is the budget. Anything that you charge for, Speaker, is part of the budget. Anything that has reference to funds is part of the budget. Speaker, I hope the Auditor General, if I still got time, is logged in on YouTube so that they can see the unfair procedures that is followed at today's council meeting. Speaker, thank you for that.
Thank you, Alderman. Last to speak on this item is Councillor von Brandes. You have 1 minute, Councillor von Brandes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, as highlighted by Mrs. Moyman, development contributions can't be a blanket tariff approach, and that is where this guidelines is coming into play. As one of the fastest growing secondary cities, we need to be a front runner in development. So this guidance will put us in line with the new regulations that is coming out. I therefore second the recommendation of my Councillor Stander on page 344. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor von Brandes. Before we get to item 14.5 and before I grant a caucus to all parties, I need some guidance, and that is that I wish Ms. Moyman to basically introduce and just give us background on this item. Am I procedurally order? Alderman van der Hoeven, was that you?
Speaker, yes. I tried to raise my hand, but I cannot. Speaker, are you going to give us the tools of trade, the tools to caucus? Because we are not in the same venue, so we need to get a link from this municipality in order to caucus.
I will ask thank you for that, Alderman van der Hoeven. Can a link please be provided to the ANC members of the council? Is it possible at such short notice?
Speaker, yes, I will arrange that immediately.
Thank you very much. Can I ask through you, can I ask Mr. van Schalkwyk, would it be, since we are in the item, or I'm on my way to the item, I'm not there yet, should Ms. Moyman give us background now before we caucus, or do we have the background once we have returned from the caucus? If I can get some guidance there, please.
If we can get it before the time, Speaker, it will be appreciated, because we haven't seen that item. It just landed on our desks now.
Thank you, Alderman van der Hoeven. Mr. van Schalkwyk, may I proceed along those lines?
Speaker, that's in order. If Ms. Moyman give some background, I don't know if the agrees with that, but I think it will just assist everybody to know exactly what it's about.
Thank you, Mr. van Schalkwyk. Thank you, Ms. Moyman, can you please give us some background on this item? You don't have to apologize for the fact that it's late.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, this is just an urgent request for endorsement by Council to do environment of MIG funding. And it's a request to do environment from the water treatment works to stormwater. As we know, the MFMA allows the environment from one vote to another. Now, in terms of the MFMA, their definition of a vote would be per directorate. So they would consider, for example, electrotechnical services as a single vote, civil engineering services as a single vote. The council policy, environment policy, however, further defines it and is more restrictive in that they define a vote as, for example, within civil engineering services, for water and one for sewer and one for roads. So in terms of the municipal policy, one cannot do environment from water to stormwater. It is permissible in terms of the MFMA, however, the council policy restricts it. And the request is to get council endorsement to enable us to move these funds. It is MIG funding. It is MIG funding that we can unfortunately not utilize as intended for the 20 megalitre extension of the water treatment works, as this project has not yet been registered as a MIG project for various administrative reasons that COGTA require. And the request is that we then move these funds to one of the MIG stormwater projects. And under the MIG stormwater projects, we have projects in Zone 1 and Zone 9, Tembeletu, and Andersonville and New Dawn Park. And the request is to move these MIG fundings to the stormwater projects so that we can spend this funding. If we cannot do this environment, it will mean that this portion of the MIG funding will not be able to be spent within this financial year. As we know, the municipal infrastructure grant is specifically aimed at the social component and providing infrastructure for the social component. So it is merely a request from council to please endorse this as it is contained in the policy of the George municipality. But as I say, in terms of the MFMA, it's permissible, but the George municipality is just slightly more restrictive in their movement and environment between votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moyman. Councillors, can you indicate whether the link has been established for the ANC councillors?
Speaker, let me confirm quickly. I have requested it.
Thank you.
Also indicate to us, Speaker, how it's going to be submitted to us, disseminated to us.
Speaker.
Alderman van der Hoof. One moment, Alderman Williams, please. Alderman van der Hoofen, this item was actually circulated yesterday at 16:51 to everybody, and everybody was alerted to the fact via WhatsApp that the late item had actually gone out. So I honestly do not understand why some of us received it and others did not, you included apparently. That I cannot explain. But I think that we will have the item on the screen. I think you've heard the gist of it, and that's why I wanted Ms. Moyman to explain to us. I think we've heard the gist of this, and I don't think there's anything that's unclear about this. Dr. Gratz?
Speaker, can I come in here? Can I come in, Speaker, with your approval?
I'm still waiting.
Yeah, you are still waiting, Alderman Williams. Alderman van der Hoofen, I'm first going to give Alderman Williams the opportunity. Alderman Williams.
Speaker, thank you. The item, by explanation, sounds so simple, but there is implications in this because the MFMA allows it, but our policy doesn't allow it. And when we want to change something according to our, let Dr. Gratz come in here, we have to rescind something so that we can allow something. And there is no opportunity for rescinding this decision and just allow these funds to be redirected to a mixed stormwater project. What's going on here? Can somebody explain?
I note your observations, and I will give the MM an opportunity in a moment. The fact of the matter is this item, albeit very, very late, was distributed yesterday to everybody via email. I think that is fair. I take note of your concerns about the importance of this, and I share that importance with you and those concerns. But I believe that a fair time has elapsed since this was distributed until where we are now in considering it. But I will hand over to the MM, Dr. Gratz.
Sorry, Speaker. Firstly, I just wanted to confirm that the link has been sent to all the councillors in the ANC caucus. And then in terms of the policy, council can make a decision to deviate from its own policy. Obviously cannot make a resolution to deviate from the MFMA, but council can resolve to deviate from its own policy, which is what the request is here. But we do not want to rescind that policy or anything else. We just want to deviate for the purposes of getting these projects completed and this money spent. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. I'm going to try and make a practical arrangement before we go into caucus. And I want to know, MM or the technical people, is it possible to display this item on a screen for the colleagues who claim not to have received it by email?
Speaker, we can do that during the course of the council meeting, but during the various caucuses, it won't be possible, but we can re-email it to everybody if that is going to assist.
Speaker?
Alderman van der Werven.
Speaker, can I quickly come in here? Speaker, first of all, I received a SMS this morning at 9:36. Good day, councillors. Hereby notice that late item 14.5 of the ordinary council scheduled for to date at 10 o'clock was emailed by Nicole Jury's Financial Services yesterday at 16:51. I checked my email only then, Speaker, because we don't sit in front of our devices waiting for emails to come through from the municipality. We received the agenda from the municipality. We caucus on the agenda from the municipality. If we knew that, Speaker, we would have done that. But Speaker, in all fairness, I opened my item just before 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Alderman van der Werven.
But Speaker, that is not the way how we do business in this municipality. Surely, Speaker, and we can't just steamroll things. We must make sure. I don't think we're going to have a huge problem with this item, except from what Councillor Williams has alerted to. But the dynamic is, Speaker, when we need to caucus, and I also want to know how are we going to be informed about the link that has been created? Is it on email?
You were already. I assume that it was sent by WhatsApp to everybody, the link?
Speaker, no, it has been emailed to everybody.
Can it be sent by WhatsApp?
Okay, I can request that, no problem.
If that can be sent by WhatsApp as well. Alderman van der Werven, in response to you, I am satisfied that the document was disseminated with appropriate time or within appropriate timelines. It's not a 100-page document. In order for us to be fully informed, and we've also had the benefit of Ms. Moyman's introduction to this item. I think we should now move on to the caucuses. I see that the Chief Whip's hand. Chief Whip. I see. Councillor Stubble, I'll give you an opportunity in a moment. I see that the Chief Whip's hand.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, this morning, just before 6 o'clock, I sent out a WhatsApp on the Whips group, also just to indicate that the late item had been sent out yesterday. So that was at about 5 to 6 this morning. I know Alderman van der Werven isn't necessarily on that group, but I also made efforts to inform the whips about this late item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Whip. Councillor Struble.
Yes, Speaker, I would just like to point out that the DA does not need to have a caucus on this item. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. I need to, however, grant the other parties the opportunity to caucus. And it's now 11:58 on my screen, watch or clock. I will allow this caucus for 10 minutes. I hope that is sufficient. And we will reconvene then at 12:10. We will reconvene at 12. Alderman van der Hoeven.
I just want to get clarity. So we're going to lock out now, join the other link, have to come back. Is that the procedures that's going to be followed? I have never done it before.
I would rather not you ask me that. Let the technical people assist us here. I'm sure that is what we need to be done, but I'm not going to give the yay or nay. Otherwise, that will be thrown against me as well. So, can we get some advice there, Rosemary? Ms. Brenkamp, thank you. Your hand is up.
Met die speaker nee, hulle moenie uitlok by die raadsvergadering se link nie asseblief. Daar is 'n link gekry vir die WhatsApp. Ek ekskuus tog vir die caucus. Hulle moet liewer net op daai link inlok asseblief.
So without putting words in your mouth, they have your current screen has to minimized, and then you go to Teams again, and you open the link that was sent via Teams. Is that correct? Councillors, help me. Can somebody help me?
That would be correct, Speaker.
Speaker, this is Leon Wallace speaking. If you accept the other link, it will put this meeting on hold. And once the councillors have done with their caucus, they just leave that other meeting and they will be back in this meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wallace. I see that Councillor Alderman van der Hoeven's hand is still up. Alderman van der Hoeven.
I think I've got clarity now, Speaker. Thank you. I think I've got clarity. So we will try it and see how it happens. But I don't know whether everything can be done in 10 minutes. But let us see. If we're not back in 10 minutes,
I'll give you time till 12:15. I'll give you time till 12:15.
If we're not
we
back
will
in time,
reconvene.
Speaker, please don't take disciplinary action against us as you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman van der Hoeven.
Speaker, can you?
Collega's, is ek op die regte plek?
Ja, meneer, is op die
Volgens
regte
mij is op
plek.
de rechte plek. Al tussen ons.
Nee, as ek jou hoor, as ek saam met jou op die regte plek, almal sê ja, ons is daar.
Ons het almal op die naughty chairs, ons mag nie praat
Ja,
tot
Pietie.
ander weer terugkom nie.
Okay, nee, maar ons sê mos niks geheimsinnig nie. Ons bevestig ons maar net ons teenwoordigheid.
Councillors, we have had 15 minutes. I seem to those in attendance seem to indicate that the ANC hasn't rejoined us yet. Let's bear for another couple of minutes.
And who is Mick, Auntie? Am I DA?
I qualified my statement, Councillor Faith, by saying that some ANC councillors are still on hold. I'm sorry if I touched your sensitivity.
Yeah, thank you. We have some of us are back, Speaker. Maybe others are still struggling.
Yes, some Speaker, and you've touched me. I will never be a DA. Never in my life.
Me too, also, Speaker. I will never be a DA in my life.
I'm so sorry for you
Me
guys.
too, Speaker. I will never be a DA in my life.
Councillors, let's proceed with the business at hand.
Me too, Speaker. I will never be a DA in my life.
Ms. has very eloquently introduced this for us.
Speaker, sorry, we were unable to hear you there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you better, Speaker. Apologies for the interruption.
I wasn't even muted and you couldn't hear me. Item 14.5. Requirements to ensure MIG allocation expenditure. As I was saying, Ms. Moiman very eloquently. Yes.
Sorry, Speaker, you broke up again there. The signal seems intermittent. No, Speaker, it's not very clear at all.
I did not do anything to my PC. Let me go onto my phone and see if we can do this better. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now very well. Thank you, Speaker.
I hope that will last. Item 14.5. Urgent MIG environments to ensure MIG allocation expenditure. Very eloquently introduced and explained by Ms. Moiman. Thanks for that. First to speak on this item is Councillor von Brandes. You have 2 minutes, Councillor von Brandes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. As explained by Mrs. Moiman, this environment needs to be approved by Council to do the environment between the following votes to ensure that we spend our MIG funding. I therefore propose that A, the Council approve the departure from the provision as set out in the environment policy and approve the shifting of funds between votes as contained in Table A above, and then B, that the MIG DPIP document be amended to reflect the various changes required to ensure expenditure of the MIG allocation. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor von Brandes. Next to speak is the ANC. Whoever is speaking, you have 2 minutes.
Speaker, thank you very much. It's Councillor Langa speaking. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, Speaker, much as that wouldn't necessarily have an issue under normal circumstances, but this time around, Speaker, this is on an 11th hour that this matter has now to be, transferred, or these monies have got to be transferred from one side to the other. Now, there are so many questions that actually, arises then, Mr. Speaker, to say, if these funds were budgeted for the water treatment plant, and suddenly now we're actually taking it to stormwater, our question then actually arises that what then happens to what was supposed to have been done on the water treatment plant that has not been done, by virtue of the funds not having been spent. That's the first thing. But secondly, and most importantly, Speaker, what will happen if this water treatment plant actually needs an urgent attention and would have moved the funds already from that side to stormwater, what will then happen? But also, Speaker, it would be important for us to also actually get to know why did this have to take or wait for so long? Because we are on the verge of an actually new financial year, and only now that this matter, comes up. It is always the case with officials when they know that, for a long time that something needs to happen in order to mitigate something else that might necessarily happen, that they wait until the 11th hour before they can actually bring matters to council. It is not acceptable, Speaker, that we now actually are put in a corner so that we can decide haphazardly on saying this money should be taken from here to there. These deviations actually are a problem to this municipality, and we might find ourselves in deep waters again because of the deviation that could have been prevented, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, it is not on that we actually conduct our business in this fashion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I'm waiting for answers, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. You or Ms. perhaps respond to Councillor Langa's questions?
Lindsay, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Speaker. This has been an ongoing debate with COGTA so that we can get the water treatment works registered as a MIG project. The work has continued. We just cannot utilize the MIG funding to pay for the work that has been done there for the consultants. So the project has been ongoing, but we cannot utilize the MIG funding for the water treatment works because it hasn't been registered as a MIG project, but we can utilize the MIG funding on one of the stormwater projects. The stormwater project is made up of a funding mix of MIG funding and funding from council's own resources then. So if we take it to the stormwater projects, we can increase the MIG portion of the funding and reduce some of the funding that would be required from council's funding. As I say, the registration of the 20 megalitre water treatment works extension has been the subject of a long ongoing discussions and debates with COGTA, with DPLG, with DWS, and it's an administrative process. So much so that we even had a meeting late last evening with these various parties to try and get clarity on it. It is a late item. We have been hoping that we would be able to get this registration done, and it is obvious that it is not going to be able to be done before the 30th of June. And here with just the request to do this amendment so that we do not lose these MIG funding. The principle is that if one doesn't spend MIG funding within the financial year, then it is one loses that funding. You do not get it back in the next financial year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moyman. Councillor Langa, does that answer your questions?
Mr. Speaker, yes, it does partly, but we will definitely support it if it is not due to the inability of officials to spend the money at the right time. But if it's because of compliance purposes, then I can understand and will support that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Langa. Next to speak on this item is the ACDP, Councillor De Tooy. You have 2 minutes.
Dankie Speaker, ek gaan kort en kragtig wees. Die ACDP ondersteun die item. Baie dankie.
Thank you, Mr. Policy.
Speaker, we didn't hear you very clearly there.
I was just asking for Ms. Apollos to briefly translate for us. Could you hear me?
Ek kan niks hoor.
Mr. Pauls?
ACTP, jou Casa Lombon.
Thank you, Mr. Paulus. I really don't know what is wrong with my device. Thank you for letting me. We then move to item 15 on the agenda.
Can't hear you, Speaker.
I have no idea what's going on here. My apologies.
We can hear you now.
Thank you. I don't know whether you'll be saying that I was thanking the MM for alerting me to the fact, and then you too, Mayor. Thank you. Item 15, questions to council. 15.1, replies to questions. There were none. 15.2, I see that Councillor von Brandes' hand is up.
Speaker, did we get a seconder on the recommendation?
My apologies. It was supposed to have been Councillor. We return. My apologies to all of you. We return to item 14.5. Councillor Barnard.
I second the recommendation made by my colleague, Councillor von Brandes. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. You see, if it's not typed out in front of me, I'll lose it. Thank you, Councillor von Brandes. We received 15 questions to councils. Replies to questions, there were none. 15.2, new questions, there were none. Item 16, confidential list of deferred items. By the way, we are in the confidential section of the